So after, what happened to Lemuria then, getting back to that?
It left.
What do you mean it left?
Basically, they came to Earth, the Sirians bought their magic. Now, they then actually vanished into the Faery Realm because the fairies are far more open to magic than the humans were. So they actually changed dimension, as it were. So they came to Earth for a while, taught the magic, and then left. So Lemuria vanished.
Okay. When you see the Faery Realm, I get a picture of something at the end of the garden floating around a couple of plants. You know,
no, nothing like that.
So what's a Faery Realm?
It's a parallel dimension which shares the Earth with us. It's simply a different dimension, so we don't see them, they don't see us. They're much more human-like and about the same size as us, but they're shapeshifters, but they work really closely with nature, and they're magicians. Whereas we develop technology, they develop magic, so it's a different line of evolution.
I've heard some of the people in the course say that the fairies hate human beings.
Well, some do, because people are destroying nature, and when you do that, it affects their world too. Nature is shared.
So this world that we inhabit, with all the beautiful nature, if we say we build a huge factory, does that affect the Faery Realm? And
yes, by destroying nature, it's destroying some of their world too.
So all the concrete roads and everything like that, they're very deeply unhappy about that,
yes.
And they want human beings to go back to a more natural world.
Yeah.
Do you think that's good for our evolution, not using concrete and building these big buildings?
Well, we need to be in harmony with the Earth to really understand how to evolve and be happy, because the Earth is so alive, it has so many gifts to give us. And when you then ignore its gifts and do everything artificially, there's a lot of waste there.
So basically cities are like a cancer then? We need to kind of develop cultures and communities within nature all around us.
Yes, we need to
make it more
learning how to live in harmony with nature.
So then, how did Atlantis pop up? Does that come directly after Lemuria?
In a way, yes. You see what happens when humans left to play with their own magic. They created Atlantis, which is where they made mistakes and everything went wrong.
Okay.
It's simply ways of humans finding their feet with their own magic.
And how long did Atlantis last for?
Well, it's happened more than once. It's happened, destroyed probably 3 times so far. It rose again. Last time it vanished was 12,000 years ago. Before that was about 26,000 years ago. So since Lemuria, human beings have created Atlantis, and you still call it Atlantis each civilization. Probably wasn't what it called then, but that's the name we have for those civilizations.
Okay.
But basically, humans found the magic, made mistakes, destroyed it, started again.
And you've talked to me about bifurcation, where you think right now the world is going to split in two, where people working with magic are going to go to one evolution, and people kind of trapped in the system and negative thought forms are going to go the way of the police state and Brave New World type scenario. Does that mean that Atlantis failed in the past and we're in that evolution of it, and the good evolution actually...
That exists in another dimension, parallel to ours.
So, if this bifurcation, the people in it transcend this reality, will they go back to a previous Atlantis?
Possibly. I mean, I have the idea they probably will. All I know is that bifurcation is happening as it happened before. I do believe that because I feel them getting closer, that we could meet them again.
Okay.
Because the Atlanteans who were on the positive side are still there to help us now.
So we can tune into those energies if we want. And basically we'll go into, the ones that do evolve, go into a magical realm, and we'll get trained in magic.
But also I think once we're blending with them, if we make it, they'll be teaching us a much better way of life. They would have already done it, so we can actually fit into their society and kind of evolve with them.
So we have to be open to that to get there.
You need to be open to actually making a better world, living in harmony with nature and working in magic and being responsible.
And one thing I'd like to ask you about is, I mentioned earlier, like, did the gods mess with our DNA? And you said they didn't, but what is our junk DNA for?
Well, it's not junk. It's
called that, you know, a label, yeah.
Well, DNA is affecting so much of us, so just because the scientists don't know what it does doesn't mean it's junk.
Yeah.
It's simply the part the scientists don't know yet.
Okay.
Which just shows how little scientists know, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what would you suggest it's for, the rest of our DNA that we don't know?
Well, basically it is the blueprint in which our future is built. It has within it not just what we are now, but what we're becoming.
So it's basically, maybe we have to raise a certain state of consciousness to unlock a key in it, to use that more power in our DNA.
There's a potential, but also it's shaped by the soul. Okay. And this is something science doesn't pick up. They think it's just going to be from your parents, but when you notice that when you're born, your DNA changes. It's not just like your parents anymore. The soul actually changes the DNA.
Okay.
Therefore the soul is what shapes it.
So can we develop our soul at all? Is that just part of personal growth? I thought a soul was a soul and that's it, you know.
It is, but even the soul becomes more.
Right. So one other thing I talked to you about, I want to just ask you about, was the use of hemp. Was quite widespread in the past.
Oh, yes.
Like, for instance, the founding fathers demanded that farmers grew hemp because it was so useful in America.
That's right.
Why then is marijuana illegal?
Well, first of all, it was such a useful plant. When it was hemp, it was a useful plant. They used rope out of it, cloth. It would create fuel, it would create plastics, it was biodegradable and very efficient. and it would grow so efficiently that any culture that grew hemp was assured of wealth.
Simple as that?
Yes, and of course the Illuminati didn't like that, lose control. So they invented this drug called marijuana. Nobody knew that it was the same as hemp at that time. We had all these films that frightened people, and somebody asked until people asked them to do something about it. So when they banned the hemp, they didn't know at that time that was what the marijuana was, and suddenly the hemp was gone, and they couldn't do anything about it because well, you've asked for this.
So the founding fathers were supposedly, some people say they were Freemasons. Now, why would they Freemasons get or linked with the Illuminati? Do you understand what I'm getting at? So why did they say grow marijuana? Because they want to establish the country first to grow
Yes,
hemp.
but also Freemasonry is a name you give to many things. Any kind of all these organisations tend to be called Masonic. They're not necessarily the same.
Okay.
You could say the Illuminati are a Masonic lodge themselves, but it's not quite the same as the Masonic lodges you might find in town, which is people quite harmless, just doing their own thing, doing their own kind of.
People say that that's the basic level, and the further up you go with these degrees of Freemasonics levels, then you get to the Illuminati.
There were different Masonic lodges, but some which were rivals.
Okay.
So, like for instance, the Jews that Hitler killed were simply in a different Masonic lodge, and they were rivals, and that's what that was all about.
So, do you think these the knowledge in Freemasonry, do you think that comes from like Egyptian mystery schools that's been handed down?
Much of that is lost to the Masons, and a lot of they make up to try and fill in the gaps.
Alright, so it's really just a story they're giving people.
There is the magic passed down in very carefully chosen lines when people show themselves worthy of initiation, and they're very careful that letting that get into wrong hands, because there is a pure magic there still, which don't get corrupted.
So basically, in summing up, the future is magic. We have to get in touch with
You need it.
ourselves.
Magic is what creates our reality, and everybody's doing it whether they know it or not. We all create our reality, so you might as well admit it and get on with it.
Yeah, time to embrace it.
Yes.
And grow and change the world for the better.
That's right.
Thanks again for your time, Peter. Have a nice
welcome.
day. Bye-bye.